Because I do think this is one of the pieces that we need to remember when we're looking at open banking data. Open banking was not built for the banks. It was built for the consumer, right? It's a consumer tool. It allows us, or consumer service, it allows us to build powerful financial tools on top of that, helping the consumer. But it requires consumer consent. It is the consumer's access to using that data, right? And this, using it in development, is a huge boon, right? And that actually getting that understanding of, when you look at your data in the tool I built, does it provide value to you as a consumer?
Thomas, thank you very much for joining us here at the studio. It's great to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get started. But before we do, briefly tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Thomas. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of a company called Subaio. So at Subaio, we are very focused on powering good decision-making. We help banks and consumers do business together. We do so by actually creating a clear, simple to understand and shared view of the consumer's financial situation and opportunities. The way we do that is also fairly unique in the market. We have a data engine that is very unique in that it is hyper-focused on working on recurring payments. We are extremely good at detecting, identifying, and creating insights on top of recurring payments, which we truly believe is the key to really understanding a consumer's financial situation and opportunities. So this engine is at the core of what Subaio is. We do also have something really interesting, and that is that behind this, or next to this, we have connections with over 65,000 merchants that is behind these recurring payments. There's anything from Netflix, but also, the insurance companies, the utility companies, the loan providers, etc. Right? So we do suddenly have the capability to help our clients to create a different interface, a different interaction in their digital channel, in their mobile bank. We can suddenly help them interact with the merchants behind it, opening for solutions like pausing your subscriptions, canceling, buying products, upgrading, downgrading, things like that. We have a number of products, and if I should highlight 3 key ones here that we've been able to build on top of this foundation that we have. The one we're most well known for, and also our initial product and our flagship, is the subscription management platform that we have. So it's a white label solution that we provide to banks, allowing them to offer that clarity of the recurring payments to their customers. It's a very solid piece of work that we have running across Europe today, and moving out to other places in the world as well. Next to that, we do also have a component for creditworthiness assessment. This is where we get a little more into what I mentioned before, actually that the full understanding of a consumer's financial situation, even the household's financial situation, right? So we can really understand the money coming in, going out, how that financial situation looks for that individual customer. And we can use that for credit risk assessment. We can use that for really understanding opportunities and helping banks, have a much more enriched dialogue with their customers. Finally, on top of all of this, we have built a digital sales platform, because with the access to the data, the consent, we have that opportunity to create business in a fair way, where we both provide really valuable insights to the customer, and the bank can actually provide their solutions directly on top of that. So this digital sales channel lies on top of this and really helps generate that type of business in the digital channel that I think we're still not really seeing fulfilled across the banks today.
Right. I find that really interesting. I was one of the first customers that benefited from having subscription management with one of the banks that you work with. This was back in 2019, I think it was, when it came out. And but I find it really interesting that you've been sort of developing the value proposition from there to the creditworthiness to the sales platform. Tell me, what impact has open banking had in your ability to augment that value proposition over the years?
Yeah, so I think open banking also needs to be looked at in the backlight of the reality that we live in today, right? And even more now than when we started back in 2017. Today we see much more fragmentation than we see before, that customers in higher degree than ever are buying financial service products from other vendors than their primary bank. We see, even here in Denmark, where we have more of a one bank, one customer relationship, we're now seeing that slide even more as well. But this is a thing that we see across the globe happening to a higher extent due to fintechs growing, new financial products appearing, right? So what we can do with open banking is fundamentally important for our customers, the banks. We can help them create that holistic, that full view of a customer. So for instance, when we're looking at our subscription management platform, this allows us to not only look at the transactions you have in your bank where you're viewing this, but also from the banks that you have next to that bank. So we can help you as a bank provide that full overview of your recurring payments and give you that clear understanding of your opportunities and your situation. And of course, creditworthiness is driven by being able to use open banking. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have been able to build that tool, because we're most often here in a context outside of an environment where we have transaction data readily available. This could be a loan process, right? We're doing a loan for loan assessment for a car loan. We need to get access to the transaction data to build that understanding. But by doing that and by using the open banking data to create creditworthiness, we suddenly have something unique in the market, something new, right? Instead of what we used before, which was statistical and assessments on your situation, we now have actual documented, concrete evidence of how your finances look, and we can help you, give you the right loan under the right terms, right?
Right.
So those are two highlights on how we use it today, day to day. But I do think there is another one that is extremely important to also note, which was something that we learned very early. It was a little aha moment, right? Where we were building our product. And of course, we go out, we do our user testing. And initially, we didn't really get the responses we were expecting. The reason became clear pretty quickly, and that is that, if I show you some transactions from a standard person, you have no relationship to that. You have no understanding of that numbers, right? Open banking suddenly allows us to do product development with actual data very early on in the process, very quickly. And that allows us to understand if we're building products that really relate to the consumers. Because I do think this is one of the pieces that we need to remember when we're looking at open banking data. Open banking was not built for the banks. It was built for the consumer, right? It's a consumer tool. It allows us, or consumer service, it allows us to build powerful financial tools on top of that, helping the consumer. But it requires consumer consent. It is the consumer's access to using that data, right? And this, using it in development, is a huge boon, right? And that actually getting that understanding of when you look at your data in the tool I built, does it provide value to you as a consumer?
Yeah.
So if I should highlight 3 points where we see it used, it's definitely, it would be those 3.
Okay, now I understand that there's a number of different solutions in the market that you can choose from if you want to use open banking, and you chose to go with MasterCard's IS solution.
Absolutely.
Why?
Yeah, why? So if you look at the market, I would say functionally, they might be very similar to each other. There's a number of solutions, as you say, right? We work with MasterCard on a number of different projects. So doing it here was an obvious choice for us, because what we have found in MasterCard is a partner that understands the customers that we're working with. They are active on the hallways of the banks today. They listen to what it is the banks need. They understand some of the non-functional, some of the fundamental needs they have when they have to buy a service. It's a solid, trustworthy partner that we have in MasterCard when we're looking at open banking data. And I think just as well, one of the pieces of choosing a partnership is having the same vision looking into the future. And with MasterCard, we definitely feel we have a partner here that is interested in building a world that is better for the banks and for the consumers, and have the same visions on how that should be done as we do. So it is an obvious choice, really, for us.
Now, help me understand, you were born out of most of the ability of accessing
That's correct.
Customer data. Is there anything that you could do now thanks to MasterCard's open banking solution that you wouldn't be able to do before?
Yeah, that is interesting, but a good question. If I just briefly talk to the first piece that you're mentioning, right? I mean, I do think we were one of the first, if not the first company actually working on top of open banking. Together with Subaio in Denmark, we built a PSD2, an open banking API at least, allowing us to do a direct-to-consumer product to the Subaio customer with the consent built in and all that, right? Which allows us to actually test it. This was back in 2017. PSD2 was known, but it was not required implemented, and no one had implemented it yet. That was a few years later, right? So it gave us that access, going back to what I said before, it gave us that access to actually talk to customers, to refine our product ahead of time. How has that changed over time? It's still a very immature market to some extent. It's still early, right? And if you look at it, the banks have different implementations. Data looks a little different. Integration looks a little different. You know, you have to also monitor and make sure you fix it when one of the banks have issues in their data side, right? And building that ourselves would of course have been an option, but it would have been a very expensive option. I would say that is one of the key pieces that a player like MasterCard has helped us with. You know, there's creating a easily accessible and refined interface where it's easy for us to use this data and provide that to our customers.
Right. Now, in the context of open banking, we keep hearing that we're only scratching the surface. What sort of innovation do you look forward to being able to deploy as we continue to embrace the full potential of open banking?
You know, part of that answer, I would say, is also, have we really started using open banking, right? If we look at the banks, have they done it, right? I mean, you see a lot of banks allowing you to see your accounts from other banks. Is that the reality that we're moving towards? I mean, open banking really gives the banks that opportunity, and it's a giant opportunity to become the advisor in the digital space, giving that clear help on understanding of what you should do based on your financial situation. Open banking is fundamental in that because we see that fragmentation, we see that data is not only accessible from the bank itself, sometimes you have to go out and get it from other banks as well, or other sources. I think that's where we will see the first innovation. I mean, there are other places that has value here, but they might not be as related to us. But of course, payments are interesting. Looking at some of the other payment or the other account types, definitely interesting as well, right?
Yeah.
But let's start using it.
Yeah.
It has plenty of potential where we are right now.
Yes, I agree. Let's get a bit creative. If I was to ask you to write a PowerPoint title that summarizes what are the main benefits that Subaio has experienced from open banking, what would that title say?
I would probably go with something like empowering financial tools for the consumer. I think that's really what it's about, right? That's where we should aim at with this open banking. This allows us, and by us I mean the banks that is our customers that we are trying to help, give that opportunity to give new tools to the consumers to help them better understand their situations and their opportunities, and together with them actually build valuable business, right? That's both valuable for the consumer and the bank.
So empowering financial tools from the consumer.
Yeah.
That's very succinct. I really like it. It's powerful. It captures really the core of it.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah. All right, let's just close and tell us a little bit of what's your vision for Subaio on the back of open banking.
Yeah, I think we've gone over most of it as well, but it's a key component today. I think it's a critical component. It will only become more critical. I would suggest to everyone who hasn't already read it to dig up an Accenture report that came out here in 2023, which is looking at 50,000 consumers across the world, but indicating some of the issues we see. And one of the big pieces is this fragmentation I'm seeing. I think we really need to be wary of this, that consumers are buying from multiple vendors. They are buying new types of financial products, making it much more complex to understand their situation, right? I mean, it's easy to buy the products. it's hard to understand the impact of it a week down the road, a year down the road, and so on, right? Yeah. So what open banking can do is give us that access to that data and help build this insight on top of that. Now I'm repeating myself, but I really do think this is the key to open banking. This is where we should be focusing with, and this is what we can get out of it. This is the space we'll be playing in. For sure, this is where we will be helping our clients realize their opportunities. And I do believe these are giant opportunities that reside in this space.
Absolutely, and I truly say this. That I think Subaio is really adding a palpable value to both the consumers and to the organizations that work directly with consumers in the market. So thanks for that, and thank you very much for coming today and spending some.
Absolutely, it's very nice.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.